Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are in the world today, I hope that you are doing great. And most importantly, my friends, I hope that you are in good health. Once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. On this channel, we get to talk about those things that people know, that people have thought about, but don't often have the time to discuss. These, my friends, are the things we talk about here on the Common Sense channel. So, once again, my friends, welcome to the Common Sense channel. As I do more of these videos, and as you all know, those who have been watching my videos, I don't script my video. My videos are not scripted. I just do them based on how I move by the ancestors. The ancestors are what? Are who drives my videos. When I say you wouldn't believe, but it's the truth. So today, which is why sometimes I'm advocating on this channel that you start to honor your ancestors, that you start to call on them. They are you. They are you are their representation on earth. You may not know it, but you are. So today's video is going to be focusing on evil. The evil is not from anywhere, it's not from outside. Evil is passed down from one generation to the other. The religious people want you to know or want you to believe. Religious people now, religious people want you to believe that evil is from the outside and it makes its way into the inside and is done by some entity out there pulling the strings, pulling you to do things that you otherwise wouldn't do if you're in your right mind, or it doesn't really matter. But they are saying someone is making you do this. I'm telling you, it's a lie. No one makes you do these things but your genetic makeup, the thing that the whole essence of you. And the whole essence of you, what makes you who you are, your gene, your genetic makeup, these things are passed down to you from one generation to another. And by the time I finish this video, you will understand that evil is not what they want you to believe. Evil is actually born, but it's born based on your generation. You understand? And you will see. So let's look at things this way, and the more I do these videos, the more my mind start to open. And like, again, please, people, honor your ancestors. All the answers lies with them. They are you again. You are the representation on earth. Look, you those people that I know there are people out there that understand what I'm saying. Have you had a child that looks just like you? The way they walk, the way they talk, every elements of their body is you. Have you ever thought about that? It's because the genetic makeup that's in you is in them. So my friends, that's how evil is passed down. So let's look at history a little bit. There are people in history, and we're seeing it today. And if that generation go on to live, that evil that their forefather done is going to be passed down over to them. You look at history. Imagine Hitler. Let's take, for example, Hitler. He's the most dreaded person on the planet. I think he's still alive because they talk of him all the time. People are so obsessed with this man. And the more you become obsessed with Hitler, the more he lives on. Anytime you call his name, he lives on. The reason why they're obsessed with him is the thing that he did. Imagine, let's say, imaginary mindset. From an imaginary mindset, Hitler had gone to have many children. The evil that he did, and not just Hitler now, all of his people that were with him. Some of them have children, they're still around. Whether those children will do evil is in the gene. Whether they're going to be racist, I don't even like to use bigotry, that's someone's term. It's racism, that's what it is. Racism is the mother and brother. Anything under that is racism. Don't classify them. So imagine, let's say Hitler going to have children, and those children are still alive. Even his children are not alive. But what about the people that were around him? You understand? So those people that are around him that shares the same views as him, these individuals also have children too. Whatever gene that those people pass down to those children, it's not going nowhere. It's not going nowhere. So racism, bigotry, and all these things that cause evil are within the gene. That's the reason why in medieval days, not now, we say we are civilized, but in as much as we pretend to be civilized, but some of the things that we are doing is just like the generation in medieval days or medieval era or medieval time. You understand? So if you're sitting down and looking at these things and your actions say, why can't we eradicate evil? Why can't we get rid of some of the bad things that people do? Why are they doing it? And then the only answer you can get, which is the dumbest answer. Nobody in their rightful mind will ever think like that. When religious people tell you that it's because of Satan. Satan is the one tempting these people and making these people to do what they're doing. So let's talk about genetic and gene and your genetic makeup. The way you feel certain time in your life is based on your genes. No one gets up, when someone go in like a serial killer, you ask them, why are you killing? Why did you kill all these people? They won't be able to explain to you. But it's that feeling within them. And the only thing that can give you those feelings are your genetic makeup. You understand? And if that serial killer that did those things probably can't really understand why he did them, there's no, even those psychologists that interview these people after they've been caught, they never attribute none of their actions to religious connotation or religious saying or dogma, nothing. They themselves can't really understand, but I'm telling you now that this thing is in the gene. That's why it's hard to eradicate evil. We will never eradicate evil. Because if you look at maybe about 150 years ago, when this whole thing was backward, people were slaughtering other people for sacrifices. They would look at them and thrust their hands into their heart, into their body, and remove their heart. What kind of human being does that if they don't have some form of evil, or the generation they pass that down to them would do things like that and feel good about it? So this whole thing about why people are evil is passed down by their gene. We've seen some evil people in our world today that would do mass killing, kill a child, kill an old man, a woman, destroy an entire village, town, and don't even feel anything about it. My friends, I'm telling you, that stuff is passed down by one generation to another. Now let's talk about people who don't even have any and feelings or evil in them. And the reason is simple. Their generation were not evil at all. For instance, John Brown. I love John Brown. Most people attribute the unification of America to Abraham Lincoln. No, it's not Abraham Lincoln. It's John Brown. John Brown is the person. This whole thing they call the United States today, if it wasn't for John Brown, it won't be what it is. He's the main architect. Read John Brown. Study John Brown. Read the last statement he made before he was hung. His entire children were destroyed because of his feelings of how he thought about human being. being treated as slaves. They don't talk much about John Brown, but I love John Brown. John Brown, if you don't know who he was a white man. That's the reason why when I look at racism and white people are racist, I don't see it as an institutional thing. The institution might influence and help propagate it, but the thing is genetic. Because take for instance, look at John Brown. Imagine if John Brown children had lived on and have children into this country. I can bet you 100% those children would have been a civil rights leader or someone out there advocating for justice and equality. There would have been lawyers, there would have been doctors, there would have been engineers, there would have been anything. And their sole intention would be to unify, integrate, if that's how you want to call it, or educate people away from racism. I don't like to say bigotry because it's the same thing. So this thing right here about evil, racism, all the ills of society, this, my friend, is passed down by our genetic makeup by way of our ancestors. So if your ancestors were good, if your ancestors were not racist, that gene is going to pass down over to you. That's why I don't lump all people in the same category, because there are black people in this country and around the world that are racist, don't want to see no other people above them. In Africa, we call it tribalism. But tribalism is Africa racism. And that's the reason why they're where they are today. Because they see tribe. I'm this tribe. So you're not my tribe. Go over there. They don't look at other people as different than their own tribe. In this country, it's the same thing. Why is that? It's the essence of my videos, because it's passed down from their generation to the other generation and the other generation. Some of them are even taught these things. That look, we are who we are. In spite of their genetic makeup now, they are taught that we are superior. I'm saying they don't even need to do that. The thing is already in their gene by way of their generation. So you don't need to teach them. It's already there. There are people that will pretend to you that they are not racist. But let me tell you, in your back, they say things that you wouldn't really, when you hear, you're going to be like, no, it's not true. And sometimes, because it's in the genetic makeup, it comes out. It's not them. The thing is just embedded in them, so it's going to come out. And when it come out, the whole world is surprised. You are not supposed to be surprised, and there are those that practice it openly. Because it's in their gene. The thing was passed down from one generation to another, from one generation to another. So after all these years, generation, maybe in the 7th generation, 8th generation, it started to show out. Now they make it legal. So you can't hide it, because this is how we feel. This is how we think. This is how we see our world. This is how we want to live. This is our way of life. And that's what they used to say way back in the 20s. This is our way of life. And the worst thing and the most dangerous thing about all of this, after it has been manifested, or after it's out there and you can see it in the open, they're not even afraid of this. That's when they are willing to kill and die for it. And you see, they can even bring it into religion too, like in the case of South Africa, where they had the Reform church that changed all the laws and say segregation today, forever. You understand? I don't advocate for all of these things. And then they'll even go to war for it, because it's their way of life. And if you threaten anyone's way of life, or their beliefs, or whatever has been passed down to them, either by story or by genetics, and I think most of these things are by genetics, they will be willing to die for it. And they won't even care. They won't have no remorse. because that's what they feel. And whatever you feel is not coming from outside. Everything, my friends, starts from inside. Let no one tell you it comes from outside. Now, those people that are well intelligent and smart, I call them the wise ones, they can engineer you in a way that whatever is inside of you, they can connect to that. It's called hypnotize. When you hypnotize someone, you are connecting with whatever is in them. You're connecting from the inside. Does Satan do that? Whatever that people do, evil, I mean immense evil, great evil, tremendous evil, an evil without remorse or guilt, an evil with justification. That evil, my friend, was passed down to that person from their generation. If they're honest to themselves, if they're honest with who they are, they will tell you their story. And they'll tell you, my mom, my great-great-great-grandpa, great-great-grandmom was like this. And they pass it down because the great-great-great-grandpa passed that down to the children, and the children pass it down to the other children, and the other children. That's how it is. So there's a reason why they did that. Or there's a reason why that generation did that. They did that because they want to maintain their way of life. And anyone that wants to maintain their way of life, their beliefs, that's a dangerous person, my friend. And that's the reason why evil, war, evil, war, evil, war, those things will never be eradicated from our world. And that's the reason why in medieval days, I wanted to say it initially, but it came to me now. In medieval time, if a king captured another kingdom, it was customary. It was customary. It's even in the Bible, in I think part of Exodus, when a judge is somewhere in there where when their so-called God now, their evil God, send them to Jericho. Guess what? What that God told them to do. That whole book is nasty. If you read it, you wouldn't go to bed. You wouldn't go to bed. You wouldn't sleep if you're paying attention to it now. So a lot of gory stuff happening there. That God sent them to Jericho. And that God instructed them to kill everything, including animals, not to spare anything. And when Joshua disobeyed their God, he was to do certain things. You understand? It's the same today. In medieval time, when a king captured another king, you know what he did? He slaughtered a whole family. You ask, why is that? And the reason is simple. He don't want that gene to continue. When someone think of you as evil, as in the case of Gaza, what's happening in that place, they believe, that person believes that whatever you are needs to be gone. Gone. Or Israel. Both sides. Because both of them are just doing the same thing. But is it equal? That's the question. But if a person think of you of evil, what do you think they're going to do? Like if someone is sick and they think of society as evil and they have access to anything that will make them, or think of a group of people as evil, that's what they're thinking. It's in their gene. They're thinking of that. What would they do? They would do things to wipe them out. And that's what happened in World War II, in European Civil War. When the Nazis' power came into National Socialist Party, when it came into power, they already had the thing in mind. to kill their own brothers and sisters, because that was their brothers and sisters. You understand? And once you think about a certain group of people as not worthy to live, or as not decent, as not, they're not human beings, they're subhuman beings. Now the next step is to annihilate them or to get rid of them. They call it genocide today. That word, no one knows where that word came from, but I don't give that word no value now. Based on what's happening in our world today, I don't no value to that word. I'll never value that word on my channel. You understand? So yeah, the way you think of people is genetic. If you think of them as human beings, they are human beings. If you think of them as your equal, that's what it is. But if you think of them as less than that, it's in your gene. Because you can make the case for many great things that people that are European descent that have done in this world. It may not be most of them. Same for black people too. Yeah, there are black people that done some terrible things. There are black people that are racist too. Even in the African community that I live in, there are Africans that think they're superior than other Africans. I know the countries that are like that. You understand? So this is not something that's just relegated to one country, or relegated to one race of people, or relegated to one race, one ethnicity, or one group of people, or one religious set of people. No. The stuff, my friends, is in the gene. And if it's in the gene, it's passed down. And once it's passed down with time, they start to teach you the stuff. If you want to look at biology, let's take for instance, and social impact on the human species. If you look at these things, you see when a child is born, like they grow up maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. If you look at them playing on the playground, that stuff is not there. If they haven't been conditioned, though, you can do your experiment if you want. I mean, I know it's been done. So anything I be saying here, some of these things, especially on this subject, it's been done. It's been done over and over. But if you look at the children, or if you don't believe me, go to elementary school and just observe the kids play in the playground. They'll come, they'll hug. If it's a black kid, or hug a white kid. A white kid will hug a black kid. They play the whole time. Even if there's conflict, that means 1 or 2 of these kids in there are being taught. It doesn't mean that shit. Oh, sorry, my viewers. I don't like to use profanity, but it doesn't mean that it's not in the gene, though. It is in the gene. It is. But that's how I feel about these things. Racism. It's terrible. I feel terrible about that stuff. Tribalism, I feel terrible about that stuff. I feel terrible about evil in general. And that's why when you watch those kids play, you wouldn't see that stuff. But give them some time. And give them some time as they get older. Their parents, who has that gene in them, will pass it down to them. If it's already in the genetic makeup, but you can do oral education. You can educate them as to who they are, and then you reinforce. So basically, they're just reinforcing what is already in the genetic makeup, passed down by way of the ancestors into the child. And so no matter how that person behaves, no matter how they try to be nice, because outside of the confound are society, and society has rules and boundaries. So when people want to stay in society and go follow these boundaries, they call them rules, but I said boundaries. Then they, my friends, must adhere to it, or to those boundaries. So they will try to stay as much as possible in the racism, as much as possible within that boundaries. But because it's in your genetic makeup and it's who you are, it'll come out sometimes. It's just the people that are not that. It won't show. You find them in churches too. There are churches where they don't even want other people to intermingle with them. There are churches where there's only one tribe. They don't want other tribe to intermingle with them. Even if other tribes, I'm talking about the African settings now, intermingle in that church, they try as much as possible to marginalize them. So that every power structure within that church is going to be the combination of that tribe. It's the same in this country. Maybe it'll be just one set of people. The majority of the people in that church will be just one race of people. You understand? So these things are actually in your genetic makeup. And the people that are make up those churches or those institutions are all, they choose themselves. So they already know how you think. That's why they do interview on these places. Like those people that are in higher places in a job, like your higher supervisor bosses. These people, when they go to interview, they are asked different questions. They are not asked the same question that you are asked who are just at the lower level. They're not asked those questions. They ask questions that you are not in that room. And the reason why is to align with how they think and feel so that you have something that stay. So it's this circle. And that circle, no one can come into that circle that does not think like that. You understand? So the reason is to maintain power within that structure. They're not going to say it to you, but that's how the circle runs. You understand? And if that person should leave and find another job somewhere else, they will find somebody that's the same, that has the same beliefs, the same thinking, the same everything to fill in that circle. You understand? So this thing right here, in short, I don't want this video to be long. It has nothing to do with Satan. Satan does not exist. There's no such thing as Satan. You understand? That's a lie. No one can prove it. It's in the genetic makeup. And let me tell you, it's passed down from one generation to another. You understand? With time, it becomes something that you can teach your children. This is like folklore story, but you teach it, you pass it down, just like inheritance. Genetic makeup is like inheriting. The child inherits that. So the child not only inherit your physical asset, the child also inherit your physical genetic makeup. Oh, I don't want to say physical, but it's in you. So whatever you are, or whatever your generation where, that's what that child will becomes. I'm not saying that people don't change. Some of them, they go to church, they think religion will change them. Religion is not going to change you. Religion don't change anyone. Religion has no bearing in your behavior. We know that today. And we see people, even if we go back to medieval days, we know the role society plays. For example, in South America, I'm not even going to talk about Africa because it's everywhere. You understand? And it's even in our world today. So religion don't change anyone. If people change, take it from the common sense channel, it's because it's in the genetic makeup, morality, ethics, evil, good, bad, all of the ills that will manifest into society later on, or already are, they're already in our society, are all part of your genetic makeup, your gene. You understand? All of the sequence in there are part of that stuff. So if you're evil, if you can't help yourself, and if that feeling is internal, you feel that way of other people, don't beat on yourself. Don't go to church and try to pretend as if you're trying to eradicate that or marks, whatever it is that you worship. Don't do that. You can't help it. That's what your generation was. It's already in you. Just like your ability, the way you feel about certain food. The way you feel about certain food, no one can change that. That's how you feel about it. That's how you're going to feel until you die. You understand? So again, as I've always said on my videos, the greatest thing, my friends, that can happen to anyone, mm, it's not the day you were born, not the day you came into this world, not the day you had your first child, the day you graduated from college, high school, whatever you're working on in life to better yourself. The greatest thing that can ever happen to you, my friends, is the day you discover yourself. Because from that day on, everything will start to make sense to you. So if you're out there, you watch my videos, don't be upset. You know, I don't write them down. I don't believe in writing anything down. I allow my ancestors to move this because I am my ancestor, and my ancestors is me, moi. I cannot extrapolate myself from them. And for that reason, I will always honor them until I die. And I believe because I will do that, my children, which is my carbon copy, you know what a carbon copy is, right? Will do the same for me. I don't want them to go honor anyone's ancestors and leave me behind because it is through me, it is from me that they are from. And whatever I am in this world, if I'm a good person, tell me. They grew up with me. I raised them. I mold them. I'm their God. You understand? So if I'm a good God, get it? If I teach them morality and ethics, if I teach them to behave and be kind to others, they see it. I'm not just telling them. They see it in me. Guess what? That's what they're going to do. If they're ever going to do evil in life, they're going to be thinking twice. Say, oh, daddy wasn't like that. Oh, mom wasn't like that. You understand? But if I taught them to have no regard for human beings, for human life, or to feel that they are better than others, tell me, my friends, that's how they're going to grow up and that's how they're going to feel. So this thing right here is two ways. It's in the gene, passed down to you, but generation upon generation. That's why you're never, no one, you can put someone in prison all you want. It's not going to eradicate evil. The medieval people understand that. The Bible, the Old Testament people understood that in order to get rid of evil, you must eradicate evil completely. But evil is going nowhere. You understand? It is in the gene. Good is in the gene. Morality is in the gene. Ethics is in the gene. Someone can talk about these things all they want. If it's not how they feel about them, it's a waste of time. So I want to thank all those people that continue to watch my videos, support me. I appreciate you. You're smart. You're in the right place. Don't listen to all that trash society tells you. Society is trying to distract you with all their boundaries. I'm not going to ever call them laws. They are boundaries. Tell you not to go there. And people say, you know what? To hell with that boundaries. I'm going to cross it. So that's why people keep crossing them. They're not laws. They're just boundaries. Like I said in my previous video, the Old Testament, right? It's not laws. If it were laws, people will abide by them. They're just boundaries, set up religious people's boundaries. They set it up so you don't do, it's like a boogeyman under the bed. That's what it is. The Ten Commandments is just a boogeyman. When you understand it, you wouldn't even look at it. How many people even read that stuff? Only society laws people adhere to. You understand? But society laws are just boundaries to restrict you. So yes, I always say, people are always going to be evil. That's something no one can stop. But a serious action against what that person done. Who was going to reinforce it anyway? So that's the question. the world governing body, and I think that they need to change that, just like they did the League of Nations. When it wasn't working, they got rid of it. We need to come up with something. We can call it One Nation. Yeah, we don't have to say United Nation. We just say One Nation. That's it. We can call it One Nation, and then someone can be at the helm of it. You understand? We don't know who that person is, but I think we're getting there. We are getting there with time, and it's not going to be in distant future. So again, I want to thank all those people that watches my video. I love you. I honor you. I think you're smart. You're in the right place. And all those people that subscribe to my channel, the newer ones, I appreciate you. You're in the right place. If you have comment, don't hesitate to put them there. The mere fact that I don't write none of these things, I just come here, I allow my ancestors, just like the pastor do. They say God. God. Then maybe the ancestor is the one talking to them. The ancestor maybe was a preacher man that loves people, that want to teach people, and that's all they're doing. A preacher is a teacher. It's not nothing important about him anyway. That's why Jesus never took any significance in himself. Yeshua Mashiach never took anything significant in himself. Never said anything of significance about himself. And that's true. The historical Jesus now, not the biblical Jesus, because there are two Jesuses, the historical Jesus and the biblical Jesus. I believe the historical Jesus walked this earth, and he is an ancestor. His name was not Jesus. His name was Yeshua HaMashiach. Taught the people morality, ethics, love for one another. And if you can do that, you can slowly, you're not going to get rid of evil, but you can mitigate evil by understanding the teachings of Jesus, not the biblical Jesus, the historical Jesus. Only teachings of morality, love, understanding. I'm not trying to contradict anything, but those things can at least mitigate evil. But evil is in the gene, my friends. It's nowhere but the gene. And that's the reason why no religious body on this planet can eradicate evil. Evil is always going to be there because it's passed down from one generation to the other. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you and your family are safe and are in good health. Bless.